This is episode 37 of the TO SportsTalk podcast. I'm your host, James Price, along with Evan Brown. And guys, it is November the 29th, and you guys know what that means. In less than 2 days, in about 2 days, December 1st rolls around, and William Nylander would not be able to sign past 5 o'clock p.m. on December 1st.
It's crazy that it's got to this point, but what's your take on it? Because I know all the media, Toronto media, have been absolutely reporting this right to the ground. Rightly so. You know, this is a huge deal. What do you think is going to happen?
You know, we've heard so much garbage over the past months. We've heard, the Leafs are getting close to signing him back in October. Yeah. And then we hear that the Leafs are exploring trades. And then we hear, not too long ago, that they're getting close to signing a deal. So it's all over the place. Then we hear from Elliot Friedman I think it was yesterday or a couple days ago, that the Leafs, even if they sign him, will probably trade him at the end of the season. Or that, I don't know.
Yeah.
There's so much speculation. Things are all over the place. There's no need to make a story out of nothing. It's just...
We've heard nothing to say that it's close. Apparently, they were about less than $1 million.
They're about 300,000, which isn't much.
No, it's not much.
To us, it's a ton, but considering what this contract situation is all about,
yeah.
300,000 isn't a whole lot of a difference.
It obviously is to the camps, both of them. I don't think it's going to get done. Listen, we have, like you say, less than 2 days to figure it out, right? So It's come down to this point, and it's not going to come down to the wire. I don't think it's going to be even done. I think that he's going to sit out for the entire year. I mean, I don't want it to happen. Honestly, I don't, but I think that is what's going to happen. It's
a little bit of a few things that could end up happening, and one was what you just said, how he's probably going to sit out. I don't think the trade market's going to happen, because what have we heard over the past few days about a trade? And trades don't just happen like that for the most part, especially when it's a big player like this. I think he's either going to sit out, like you're saying, or one side, whether I don't think it's going to be the Leafs. I think they're going to collapse and say, fine, we'll take a deal. Because Nylander's talking about getting more money and all that kind of stuff, but he's going to leave over $6.5 million on the table this year.
And if you're Kyle Dubas, you cannot crack. I'm sorry, but they have to understand that Dubas is in a rough situation right now with everybody. Look how Mitch Marner is performing over the last couple games,
and every time he gets a 3-assist game like he did yesterday, that contract number is going up and up.
He's going to win He's going to win a scoring title this year if he continues. Right? So
it's going to be difficult with Rantanen and McKinnon and guys like that.
He's up there, but he's in the conversation
he's top 3 right now.
He is He's the best Maple Leaf other than Matthews. He's better than John Tavares. He's better than Morgan Rielly. Yeah. He is the second best Maple Leaf. And I don't know, going into the season, we could have said that Mitch Marner is the second best, if not the best, Maple Leaf on this team.
We had a feeling.
I would have said John Tavares.
Yeah, we would have had a feeling that he would be one of the top Leafs. We didn't really expect this.
No,
isn't he over 10 points a game, 10 points over a point a game or something?
Just how he moves the puck, how he can skate backwards, sideways, forwards, everything. He drives the play. He looks like Bobby Orr out there.
The one thing I don't like about Mitch is when he gets an equality opportunity of a shot, he does not take it.
And
he
agree
looks
with
for
that.
the high risk pass. But I'm not complaining about Mitch. The guy is ridiculous.
And when that high risk pass works, it's great. Obviously, sometimes it doesn't, and I agree with you. He should shoot more because he has a pretty good shot.
Yeah.
It's not elite. It's pretty good.
Because at some point in time, opposing teams are going to say he ain't going to shoot and play the pass the entire way until he shoots the puck.
Right.
And when he tries the pass, it's just not going to work.
But yeah, exactly. So going back to Kyle Dubas, he has to sign Mitch. He has to sign Matthews, obviously. And he can't break under these contract negotiations. He cannot crack because, listen, if a deal doesn't get worked out, both sides lose. Dubas loses and the Nylander camp loses, right? Ultimately, they do both lose. And I just don't think it's going to get done. I mean, I love Willie. His dad is a big part in this whole situation. His agent, Louis Gross, I think, or
something like that. Yeah.
Something like that, exactly. I'm not too sure on the name, but they're both obviously very involved in contract talks, rightly so. But I think it's a very tough situation what both sides are in, and guys, less than 2 days, so I don't think it's gonna get done. How about you?
Look, I think if it's gonna happen, I don't think it's gonna happen today, but I think as the time goes on and the clock keeps ticking and it's closer and closer, they're gonna start to sweat. They're gonna start to feel.
If they're not already sweating now,
right? But now knowing the clock is ticking down to about 2 days left. It's gonna be a grind. So I got one statement. If William Nylander does not sign this contract this year, would not surprise me in the slightest if Nylander fires his agent. Would not surprise me in the slightest.
Yeah. See, I mean, it's tricky because his agent is a pretty good agent. I think Johnny Gaudreau's agent was same agent, right? And it's tough because his agent is trying to get the most money for Nylander. And he's known for being a pretty good agent around the league. But I don't think that they'll fire the agent because, I mean, it's not really the agent's fault. He just wants,
Agreed. But the fact of the matter is, Gaudreau got a contract done. They didn't overextend for Johnny Gaudreau. They got him back. And now Nylander has been the longest RFA ever.
Yeah.
No players had to sit out. And we are 2 days away from him being the first player ever to sit out. Look, I understand he's trying to get the most amount of money out of him, but the fact of the matter is, if December 1st goes by, he's making a ton less.
And plus,
no matter what. So
I think under the circumstances with the Leafs, obviously, he's expected to take less, which, I mean, there's both sides looking at it. It's tough because obviously this team wants to win. This team wants to keep the core. Dubas and Shanahan all said, listen, you're going to have to take a bit less to keep this core around, which makes sense.
It makes sense for Willie, but for his agent and his father, we're not so sure about.
No, but what's an extra, like I said, $300K?
Well, so then that leads to my question now. So if we were hearing what, a few days ago, 3 days ago or whatever, that it was about 6.9. That's what we were hearing, 6 years, 6.9. It was almost a done deal. That's what we were hearing. Right. And then we hear 300,000 off. If those two are linked somehow, which way are we talking? Are we talking like Dubas and them are offering 6.9, but Nylander wants 7.2? Or are we talking Nylander's camp wants 6.9 and Kyle Dubas is not budging and he's offering 6.6?
I think it's the second one. I think Nylander, a win for Nylander if he signs a contract would be 6.9 to 7. I think Dubas is offering 6.6.
Well, I mean,
I think so. And good for Dubas for sticking by the reins. He can't budge. It's gonna have to be the Nylander camp to be like, all right, you know what? Fine, we'll take the 6.6 over, let's just say 3 or 4 years, whatever. Now, this is a question to you. Do you think that it's gonna be a bridge contract or a long-term deal?
Well, we really haven't heard diddly squat about a bridge deal at all. All the reports that have come out have been all long deals, which it could mean a few things. It could be, number one, that they're going to sign him long-term, or number two is they're signing him long-term to trade him. Now, those questions are not for right now because there's no contract in place yet. But with less than about 2, I think it's 5 o'clock in a couple days. But so it's technically like 2 days and 4 hours. But I don't know what's going to happen. I really don't know. And the fact of the matter is, right, we're all talking about, everyone who's pro Nylander camp is talking about, we're trying to get the best out of the most amount of money possible for William.
Rightly so.
Agreed. Rightly so. But if December 1st goes by, you're leaving let's say Dubas is offering 6.6. You're leaving $6.6 million on the table.
Exactly. To not play the whole entire year pretty much.
Right.
So,
and I'm sorry.
I get it. I hear you.
I'm sorry. Look, you don't play this year, and you go into this off season wanting a contract or wanting to get traded and then sign a contract. What team is going to want to give him $8 million when he did not play in the NHL this year?
There are teams out there, and me and you discussed this. You're telling me that the bottom feeder teams,
it's Arizona, a bigger risk now. It's a bigger risk.
Wouldn't give him $8 million. Absolutely, they will. Absolutely. They've seen on paper that he's a great player. Listen, even if he doesn't play the entire year, he's still worth $8 million to a team that is obviously not great and have the cap room. So I think this situation, it's going to come down to the camps and who's going to budge first. And what Friedman said, this was last night, I think, about how even if he signs a short-term, long-term deal with the Leafs, he's going to get trade, or he's probably not going to be a Leaf up until maybe the, I don't know, trade deadline draft, like latest draft. And I found that interesting because I think maybe this is what the camp is thinking. It's like, okay, if the Leafs are going to be trading my clients, right, why would we sign a deal in the first place? We want to get as much money from the Leafs because we're afraid that the Leafs are going to be trading my client, which is William Nylander. So it's two ways of looking at it. I don't know if the Leafs are going to trade him. I hope not, but I mean, we don't know. We just want him to sign first.
The thing for me is, it would not surprise me if, I understand Elliot Friedman's trying to go on that, but we don't know what Marner and Matthews is making. We are going to make. We can ballpark it. We can say, well, they deserve this. They could possibly be making this. But in hindsight, we never know. You could say because Mitch is a Toronto boy, he might take a little bit less. You could say if Matthews, I know, he's going to want, so we're all saying, he's going to want $13 million. He's going to want Connor McDavid money, $12 million. If he wants to win, he might even sign John Tavares money. We have no clue what's going on. So if Nylander does get signed, and let's say Marner and Matthews take a little bit less than we were all expecting.
That is wishful thinking.
It definitely is, but how can you speculate what's going to happen in the offseason?
Because just how they're performing now.
It's to make a story.
You can speculate.
It's to make a story.
No, I know, but you can't expect, and this is what kind of drives me nuts with Leaf fans. They're expecting Mitch Marner to take a hometown discount.
No, I'm not saying it's going to happen.
No, I'm not saying it's going to happen either, but Leaf fans are kind of bringing in the thought. Listen, I don't think both players are going to take a discount. I really don't. Look how they're performing. You can base the numbers, that's why we're ballparking right now. You can base the numbers off how they're performing. Both players, Mitch Marner right now deserves $10-11 million just by the way he's playing.
Yeah.
Matthews, maybe even more than 13.
When healthy, he's about that. Yeah.
Marner or Matthews? Matthews?
Well, both of them are worth what you just said.
Exactly.
Will they make
based on how they're playing now?
It feels to me like the Matthews contract is just like in place and ready to sign.
I agree with that.
And if I'm not, it would not surprise me if once this Nylander shenanigans are all over and done with, that Austin Matthews signs a contract like that.
And Dubas just keeps throwing out the money everywhere. It's like, breaking news, a day after, what's his face gets signed.
Matthews.
No, Nylander.
Oh, yeah.
Matthews gets signed. It's like, geez, like, where was this about maybe 2 months ago?
Yeah. I mean, for Marner, it's interesting, right? Because you look at Mitch and you know what he's doing this year. Like you said, we're all ballparking what they're going to be making.
Just based off how they're playing.
Right. If Nylander signs for, let's say, $6.9 million, does that change Mitch's contract at all? Considering that Nylander, is... I wouldn't say is the same skill set because they got different attributes. I think both guys do. I don't know. I don't know if it does change.
I kind of know where you're going with this, but we don't know how much Nylander is asking for.
Right.
So we can't say that, since he was asking for this amount, he only got this amount, then Marner should do the same. We don't know how much he's asked for Nylander. He could be asking 6.8 and the Leafs are saying 6.3. Yeah. Or maybe a bridge deal for $5 million. We have no idea.
I just truly believe that this contract it will get done. I just have that.
I think so too.
I'm just this firm belief.
Actually, no.
If you're only 300,000 after being what were they? $1.5 million away when they first started, being that far away, and now you're only 300,000 away. I mean, my God, if this deal does not get done based off of $300,000, this is ridiculous, and I'd be happy when it's over. I already am going to be happy when this is all over and done with because it's getting annoying.
Well, and then afterwards it's going to be done whether he be traded, not signed, or signed. Yeah. You're going to have, Marner's up, Matthews is up. So it's going to be a whole new thing.
That's why like we just said, that I think Matthews is going to sign right away and we're not even going to have to worry about that contract.
I believe so. And Marner is going to be the tough person because you can't... How Marner is playing this year compared to last year, it's not worlds difference, but it is a pretty significant difference. Mitch Marner was great last year. He's unbelievable this year.
He had a slow start last year. Look, they showed a stat through his first, how many games were through this year, 25 games or whatever. He's basically doubled his points since this point last year.
and just how
ridiculous.
He's playing, his chemistry
I mean,
with
it does
John
help.
Tavares.
It does help when you have John Tavares. But
well, I don't care. You are driving the play.
He is.
It looks like he has a
John
string on
Tavares
it.
has 17 goals right now. He is what, 4th, 5th in the league in goals?
Igor Ozhirganov got a goal because of Mitch Marner.
Yeah, really.
It's just crazy to me, and I'm scared as a Leaf fan. I'm happy that he's doing so well, but I'm scared because how much is this guy going to make?
I think it all depends on if Nylander signs. If he does not sign, I don't think Marner's contract will be an issue.
If he doesn't sign at all?
If Nylander does not sign, period, if it's a sign and trade, basically, then I think that Marner will have no problem signing. If Nylander does sign, well,
so
then,
Nylander off the roster you're talking about, like never a Leaf again.
Right.
Okay,
if he is like an Arizona Coyote, all right, and they have his rights, they have his contract, if that's the case, then I think you don't have an issue signing Marner or Matthews and possibly even Jake Gardiner. But
yeah, I agree with that. If he doesn't sign, or he gets traded to, like you say, Arizona, or he sits out for the rest of the year, and we don't, and we trade his rights, like you say, then we can't afford Jake Gardiner. Then we can't afford Marner for what he's asking. Dubas is still gonna, lowball him obviously as a GM, but he's going to get what he wants to a certain extent, and Matthews is going to be. Now, the one thing that scares me are the offer sheets for both these players.
Because I think that's the reason you don't want this to go into the offseason. Because a team like the Arizona Coyotes is a great example of this. They're a team that has no fan base. We all know this. They have a young team, but they really haven't shown any promise. They've shown flashes of greatness. They beat the Capitals this year, which is great. And then they haven't put any good.
And then they make these.
They've been the bottom feeder teams for a while.
Yeah, exactly. And for right now, an Arizona-born kid, grew up as a Coyotes fan, Austin Matthews. If I were the Coyotes, I would offer him 17, 18 mil.
Why not?
Exactly.
It would bring in the money for them.
And the sad thing is, well, I shouldn't say sad, but the scary part is that the Leafs have to match whatever Arizona offers. They have to. Trade Riley, trade whoever. Just shed salary so you can get Matthews. I mean, this is far from reality right now, but we're just discussing because I don't think it's going to happen because usually offer sheets don't happen. It might happen, but I don't think it will.
And that's what we're talking about. If the Matthews contract is the most in place as we know, once December 1st rolls around, and if Nylander's here or not,
you get that.
It would not surprise me if Austin Matthews is signed within the next couple days.
Most players don't want to negotiate contracts during the year,
which tells me that it's almost done. Basically.
And Mitch Marner said that, but Matthews, I don't know if it's done. We don't know, but it looks like it is. Like you said, it looks like it's in place because Matthews, like you say, 13 mil is about right. Maybe a little bit more, but 13 mil I think is fine. Because that's more than McDavid.
Because you know how Matthews and Mitch Marner are basically like best buddies in a sense.
Yeah.
And honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if Mitch Marner is waiting for Matthews to sign before he starts negotiating.
Yeah, but he straight out said that I'm gonna do this in the offseason. I'm not doing this during the season.
Mitch Marner said
yes, he said this.
Well, he doesn't negotiate, so it's good.
Well,
if Nylander gets back and Matthews gets back,
his agent, the Marner camp. That's what I'm trying to say here.
I don't know. We'll wait and see how that all goes down.
Yeah.
But I mean, December 1st, like we said, is only a couple days away.
So the bottom line is, do you think he's gonna? Because this is the last. Guys, this is the last episode before it actually happens. So my final question to you over the whole spiel, the whole scenario, do you think he's going to sign? And if it's a yes, long-term or bridge?
I think he will sign. I think it'll be long-term. I think since you're $300,000 off, it's not a whole lot. As the days go by, it's got to get smaller. If the $300,000 is legit,
which it is because multiple people reported it, and yes, it is true.
Okay, so there you go. $300,000 off it's a big amount, but it's not when it comes to this contract situation.
It is, but it isn't.
Right,
basically.
Right. Yeah. I think if Nylander wants to make $6.5, $6.6, $6.7 million this year, sign the damn contract, and if you don't want to be here next year, then go.
I completely agree with you.
But I think he will sign long-term.
You're thinking 6.9 for what, 6-7 years?
Yep, that's what I think.
Okay. I don't think he's going to sign. Hopefully, eat my words once again on this show, but I don't think he's going to sign. And I think the Leafs aren't going to trade him. I think he's going to sit out for the whole year and play in Sweden or wherever. So hopefully I'm wrong, but I think that is that. Now, moving on to the Leafs, and they beat the San Jose Sharks. Was it 5-3?
5-3 yesterday.
5-3 yesterday, and man, all I got to say...
Welcome back, Austin.
Welcome back, Austin Matthews. What a snipe. What a snipe show.
Baby. I mean, like, watching him out there, I felt like we just got a new player. Like, I don't know.
A new used player.
Pretty much. I mean, he looked like a guy we just picked up in a trade, and we're like, wow, this guy's really good.
Well, it's basically like you traded in your Toyota Corolla, which is Freddie Gauthier, for a Lamborghini.
Yeah, basically.
So
basically, you get rid of Frederick Gauthier and you got Austin Matthews. Pretty darn good.
So you got rid of the GOAT for the GOAT.
Yeah. I mean,
I guess that
you got a much bulkier and better GOAT, but you did get
rid of a GOAT. As in Frederick Gauthier.
Okay.
For the greatest of all time, Austin Matthews.
Okay, whoa, sorry. He's amazing.
Yeah.
Greatest of all time.
Maybe greatest Leaf? Oh, well, that's another discussion.
Yeah, it's a very big discussion. Now, let's go. What I want to do here is, the last time we talked, I think it was the Thursday, so it was the Columbus game in Columbus.
Which they won.
They lost that game.
Columbus. It was, okay, yeah, it was Columbus.
Since the last time we did the podcast, they lost 4-2 to Columbus. They smashed Philly 6-0 on the Saturday night. They beat Boston 4-2. And then they beat San Jose 5-3 yesterday.
Okay, so let's talk about this Philly game, because you were over.
Yep.
Right? And then you left halfway through.
Yeah.
For reasons. The Flyers' goaltending is horrible.
Leafs, you miss Calvin Pickard? Not so much.
Not so much, and he was waived today. So if the Marlies want an okay goaltender, there you go. I don't think we picked him up.
Wouldn't surprise me.
I think he cleared by now because this was yesterday. But they waived him, and the Flyers are a complete embarrassment. They've
Fire Ron Hextall.
You know what's funny? Andreas Janssen got a GM fired.
Andreas Janssen
got a GM fired. I don't think any Leaf has got a GM fired ever.
Well, maybe
our own GM.
Yeah, well, I mean, we all know that's happened quite a few times.
Come on, Dion, Phil Kessel. But that
great. Regime, it's crazy. We talk about that regime of Phil Kessel and Dion Phaneuf, and that was only like 4 years ago. It doesn't feel like it.
So Leaf fans, if you're a bit greedy with the whole, why is Nylander signing for that? Look how far we've came.
Look anybody chirping the Leafs for when they lose a game against the Columbus Blue Jackets and back-to-back against Carolina. They're like, oh, this team's terrible. They can't keep the puck out of the net. They need more defense. Look, remember Leaf fans, what we were 3-4 years ago.
Most of them don't.
No, true.
Most of them don't, but we do.
A lot of, oh boy, do we ever. P.A. Parenteau, your leading scorer at 20 goals.
P.A. Parenteau Ovechkin.
Pretty much.
Mark Arcabello.
Wow. Yeah, that's a flashback.
Eric Brewer.
Eric Brewer,
Nick Spalling,
Nick Spalling.
Spalling, yeah. You could just go.
Daniel Winnick. And the crazy thing about Daniel Winnick was the fact of how he was always traded the deadline because you wanted some.
Hey, we got back. I think we got back a third Connor Carrick and like a fourth or something. Oh, yeah. That was pretty good at the time.
And then you traded him a year later, and I think you got a second back. So I mean, hey, thanks Daniel Winnick for your time
and for all your picks. But so the Leafs since the last podcast were
3-1.
3-1. There you go.
And they've won 3 straight.
All
3 at home. And then there's a crazy stat they put out yesterday after that San Jose victory. It's a weird one. Like, you know how sometimes they grab at straws for stats.
Oh, yeah.
So
it's like, why do they track these kind of thing? You're like wondering.
Exactly.
It's like, what?
So with the 5-3 win yesterday against the San Jose Sharks, the Leafs have now won 6 straight games, all by multi-goals.
Multi-goal as
more than one. So 2-3 goal leads.
Which isn't that hard.
No, but it's 6 straight, which means you haven't won by 1 goal in 6 straight home games, which means you've pretty much dominated those games.
Yeah, okay.
In a sense. The Leafs had not done that 6 straight home games since 1968.
Why couldn't it be 1967?
Yeah, right. That would have made everybody freak out if it was 1967. Oh my God, we're going to the Cup Finals.
Yeah, which we will be doing this year. By the way,
wouldn't surprise me. Hey, you gotta watch out for those Buffalo Sabres, though.
Can we talk about them?
We'll get to them in a little bit here.
Okay.
But, I mean, we definitely got to touch on that.
Yeah.
That was really crazy.
So next up, we obviously have the Minnesota.
Next week's podcast might be a little iffy because I work Monday through Friday, so that might be interesting.
So it might be Saturday night.
It'll be maybe even a Saturday. But anyways, guys, the next week for the Leafs, let's go through that first. They don't play a whole lot. Okay. They don't after this. So they play December 1st. They have 2 days with 3 days off. So they played on the 28th yesterday. They played November 1st in Minnesota. Then December 4th in Buffalo.
We haven't faced the Sabres at all this season.
No, and usually when we go to Buffalo, it's usually jam-packed with Leaf fans.
I don't know so much anymore.
But with Buffalo being a damn good team this year, it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. I'm very interested to see if there's going to be any bloodbaths.
That Kadri, Ristolainen are always going to chirp.
Oh, yeah, and plus...
Rasmus probably going to be a little bit of that. But can we talk about the Buffalo Sabres a little bit?
Sure, yeah, let's get into it.
Obviously, now, I saw a stat, the best turnaround in NHL history for right now being the Buffalo Sabres. They are 10.
They've won 10 in a row. They're 17-6-2.
Oh, geez, what am I saying? 10. 17-6-2, like you said. Their goalies, both of them, Carter Hutton and I think that's Linus Ullmark, are doing unbelievable, especially Carter Hutton.
2.5 goals against average and a 920 save percentage with a 12-6-1 record. And then Linus Ullmark has not lost a game. He's 5-0-1. 5-0-1-1, I guess, with a 252 goals against and a 926 save percentage. No matter what goal you throw in there, they're getting the job done.
Goalies, defensemen, you have someone like Zach Bogosian who's playing over 20 minutes a game and looking great out there. Yep. Rasmus Dahlin, Rasmus Ristolainen's always there.
Bottom line,
Jake McCabe's playing great. Bottom line is the Buffalo Sabres finally getting out of that hole. And honestly, I know I don't really like Buffalo and you don't either, but thank goodness for this fan base that had so many hard years of suffering. They're finally getting out of the hole.
Missing 2 first-round draft picks and they suck so bad. They could have had McDavid and Aaron Ekblad.
And then they got Reinhart and Eichel. And Reinhart's been great.
They've been great, but there's not Connor McDavid.
No, and I think right now Reinhart is better than Aaron Ekblad.
Yeah, honestly,
I think so.
I'm trying to look back at their 10-game win streak and seeing what the schedule was like.
They're playing good teams.
You know what? They've played some teams, but they had a stretch where they were playing some really strong ones. They played at Tampa at home, and they won 2-1 in Winnipeg, in Minnesota, in Pittsburgh. They won all those games.
Now, the one thing, if you can find a flaw in this 10-game winning streak, which you really can't because it's a 10-game win streak, but I'm going to say it. All these games, well, I wouldn't say all. They either won in overtime or by 1 goal.
Yeah.
In regulation. So, I mean, you can kind of see that as a little bit of a red flag. I don't. Maybe some fans do, or some critics. It's something to look at, but congratulations to the Buffalo Sabres.
7 of their 10 wins are not in regulation.
How many are just by a goal, if that regulation or in overtime?
So, they've won 1 game that has not been a 1-goal game.
So it's close, but you know what? They're performing. Jeff Skinner's on pace for, like I said before, 50 goals. He's obviously going to slow down.
3 of their 10 games are in shootouts, which are kind of useless. So
they are, but they still won.
They're points, right?
So, yeah, and Jack Eichel, his chemistry with Jeff Skinner.
Yep.
It's unbelievable. And Phil Housley, he was a Hall of Fame defenseman, I think. Was Phil Housley a defenseman?
I think so.
I think so. He is giving Rasmus Dahlin a bit of a leash, but he's saying, okay, you know, and Rasmus Dahlin is looking more comfortable every game, and he's performing, and he's looking great out there. As a first overall pick should be. Struggled at the beginning of the year, but still performing amazing.
Now, the 2 things I want to ask, or one thing I want to ask, one thing I want to say. Okay. The question I have is, will they be able to sustain this over the full 82 games?
I think so.
They weren't great to start the year.
They weren't great to start the year. No,
put into perspective, like they've won 10 straight. So minus those 10 games, they're only 7-6-2.
I think they won't be first in the Atlantic. I think they'll make a wild card, or maybe even get the 3rd spot in the Atlantic.
So you think
in the division? I think they will make the playoffs. I think they'll drop off like any team.
You think they're going to beat out either the Leafs, Tampa, or Boston?
Yeah, I think I might be Boston with all the injuries right now, and they're not playing good. I think so. Why wouldn't you know? So just getting off the Buffalo Sabres, because we have a couple trades.
The last thing I want to mention with that, the goal differential is something to really keep an eye on. Yes, Buffalo is 17-6-2, and yes, they've won 10 straight games. Put in perspective, the Leafs have a plus 26 goal differential.
Yeah,
they're only plus 11.
They are facing good teams, though, and they've only won by 1 goal for, 7-8 games.
Exactly.
So that's probably...
And those games, those 1-goal games will flip at some point.
They will flip, exactly. Right. But for right now, the Buffalo Sabres are on a roll.
They're playing 10 in a row.
Exactly.
Enough said.
Exactly.
Now let's get to these trades.
Yeah, so a big one from, like you were mentioning, the Arizona Coyotes.
Wow.
and the Blackhawks. Now, my first impressions of this trade, if you've not heard, going to the Blackhawks was Dylan Strome and was it Brendan Perlini?
Yes.
Going to the Arizona Coyotes is Nick Schmaltz. At the time, I thought, oh, well, what's Arizona doing? They're getting rid of these 2 high prospects, quote unquote, for someone. But in my mind, who got the better player? Who got the best player? The Arizona Coyotes did.
Dylan Strome in his first game with the Blackhawks had a goal and an assist.
Okay. But...
And he had a total of 6 points in Arizona in 20 games. He plays 1 game with Chicago, has 2 points. Now, ideally, he was playing with Patrick Kane, if I'm not mistaken. So that's going to happen.
It looks great for both teams. Maybe a bit too much that Arizona gave up, especially Dylan Strome.
Hey, Leaf fans, you go back to that draft? Yeah. Everyone was talking about going after the big center and Dylan Strome. I was, to be honest. And then the Leafs go after Mitch Marner, and...
It's working out pretty well.
We see the difference.
Yeah. So, Nick Schmaltz had a breakout year last year. I think he had close to... Actually, I think he had 60, 65 points last year. He had almost 30 goals. Obviously, a very, very slow start. I don't know if he's done anything on Arizona since. I don't think so. You have him in fantasy, so you should know.
I don't think he's played a game with them, actually, as of yet. Oh, and there he is. He didn't get anything, though.
It's a win for both teams because Arizona... I don't know why they would give up on Dylan Strome so quickly because they need a first-line center. I'm sorry, Derek Stepan is not a first-liner.
No.
But at the time... They were both struggling. They both needed to change the scenery, so I can see why. And they got back the best player out of this deal in Nick Schmaltz.
Right. I mean,
who would you say is a win for this
Nick
trade?
Schmaltz is only 22 years old. First round 20th overall by the Blackhawks in 2014.
He's a good player.
He's a young player. He's got
actually go to career stats to see what's. So just go to last year. Go down.
How do I? Okay, I've never done this before.
Right.
Chicago in 2017-2018. He had a 52-point season, 21 goals, 31 assists. He was a +1, and so far this year in 24 games, or 24 games, he's had 11 points.
So it's a good trade for both teams. If I have to give the win right now, it would be to the Arizona Coyotes.
To Arizona?
Yeah, because I think Nick Schmaltz is the best player out of this deal. But for long-term success, I got to give it to Chicago. Dylan Strome has not. Yes, he got 2 points in his first game. He's not proven to me that he is going to be a third overall pick. And look how Ryan turned out. I get they were different, but right. So
I don't know. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens with Dylan Strome's career now with Chicago, and possibly at some point playing alongside of Patrick Kane. That'd be quite the interesting.
Yes.
Quite the interesting duo right there.
Because they need a second line or maybe even first line center at this point of Jonathan Taves' career. Okay, so let's just go to, obviously, Philly. They're firing their GM, Ron Hextall, who was okay in my opinion, but didn't address the needs. He
never changed the goalie situation.
He never changed, but he drafted well. He made pretty good trades, but like you say, he took a bit too much time in it. And I think right now they're on a GM search and maybe even coaching search. Excuse me. Who's their coach again?
Dave Haxtell, I think.
Dave Haxtell. He said in his presser that he's not nervous at all. He doesn't think that he's on a hot seat.
Of course he's going to say that. Your team sucks. Your team the Leafs. Look, if I was a Flyers fan, I'd be embarrassed.
No, I would too.
I know the Leafs were at home. I get it. The Leafs didn't have Austin Matthews. They had Garrett Sparks in net. They did not have. Did Philly play the day before?
Yeah, they did.
They did. So both teams were on the back-to-back,
which makes it even. But you have Calvin Pickard in net, which honestly, at the time they put him in, I was thinking, oh, the Leafs are just gonna get shut out because usually this is what happens. No.
Calvin Pickard looked awful.
Oh, yeah, he looked terrible.
He was way out of his net too many times.
And then you have,
was horrendous.
Mind you, a lot of Philly goaltenders are injured, but that begs the question. You have a lot of defensive prospects. You have a lot of forwards. Yeah. Why not give one up or give a draft pick up? So the Flyers want to win now, obviously.
Well,
give up a draft pick. Give maybe even up your first. Now, this is a mock trade. I thought it for the Flyers. I don't really know about a first. Give maybe, I would say what? Maybe Travis Sanheim and a third for Corey Schneider.
Yeah, because he's not really playing.
He's not playing too well. The contract's a bit iffy. I think he's making about $6 million for like 3 or 4 years, actually. Yeah. Bad contract. Maybe you can
got to do something.
Throw in a second or maybe even a first. So all right, Devils, we'll give you let's just say a first in Sanheim for Schneider, but you retain half. So he's making $3 million for the next 3-4 years. I think a change of scenery for Schneider will work wonders.
And the Flyers got to do something. They can't just run out these backup goalies left and right and expect to win.
You're wasting Claude Giroux's prime. You're wasting Wayne Simmons' prime. You're wasting Couturier.
Voracek.
Voracek.
I don't know why I said Voracek.
Voracek,
Yeah.
exactly. So
And Gostisbehere, I mean, I know he's still young, but, I mean, every year that goes by.
it's mainly Claude Giroux. And Wayne Simmons.
And
because
Voracek.
And Voracek, yeah.
They're all around the same age with each other. About 20,
and Wayne Simmons
29.
is an RFA, or UFA, excuse me. So
And they're not going to be able to re-sign him with that contract that he has now, and he's...
I don't know what Philly's cap structure is looking like. They can't be spending a lot on goalies, so there you go.
Clearly.
Yeah, exactly. But, I mean, I think they need to make a move right now, and I wouldn't be surprised if Philly gives up their first for this year or a defensive prospect.
They should. That's where their strength is. They have a lot of defensive prospects, but they're not utilizing
Or maybe
that.
give up Morgan Frost, the guy that they drafted in the first round, for somebody.
Yeah.
Maybe even Jake Allen from St. Louis. Something. Just something so you can... I don't know. But I think this was the right move. I mean...
Look what the Leafs did. They were in such a horrible goaltending
I love how you
situation.
compare everything to the Leafs.
Well, I mean, it kind of makes sense. The Leafs didn't have a goalie. The rebuild was going nice. You draft Mitch Marner. You're about to go after, I think it was the year before they went for... No, sorry. It was the year they were going for Austin Matthews. And we're like, man, this is great. And then was it the year... Which year did they have that Pittsburgh pick and they traded it to Anaheim?
It was the Marner one.
Marner draft. So you just drafted Mitch Marner, highly skilled player. We're all happy and really pleased, but we still don't have a goaltender. They go out there and they trade that late first round pick they got from Pittsburgh in the Phil Kessel trade.
To Freddie Anderson at the time, who we didn't know if he was going to be a starter. It looked like because he split the starts with Gibson, and he turned out to be a Vezina Trophy winning
You took
goalie.
the risk against a guy who has put up good numbers. And at that time was 25, 26 years old, and 28, 29 now,
something like that.
But you had a feeling what you were gonna get with Freddie Anderson, and you made the trade. You then signed him long term, and look what happened.
And he's great.
Taking a risk.
Look at Carter Hutton. Some risks don't work. Look at Scott Darling. He just got put on waivers, right? He was a very, very good backup. Yeah. He split the starts with Crawford. He went to Carolina. Didn't do well, and then you look at Carter Hutton. He's playing great. He was backing up Jake Allen. He looked great. So the Flyers, I don't see... Goaltenders are tough. I think they need an established starter. I don't think that they have any... I don't think they can take any more chances on a maybe.
Yeah.
I think they need maybe even Jonathan Quick.
Yeah,
maybe
the Kings are not. He can't stay healthy, so
he can't stay healthy, and they have Jack Campbell, who's looked great, and I think they have Cal Peterson or something like that, who's looked pretty good. So maybe that's where you give up your first. I don't know. I just think Philly has to get an older style goaltender, but is established and not a maybe. I think that's what the Flyers need to do.
They have too many maybes.
Yeah.
Great Steve Mason back in the day. Well, he was a maybe
because he had one good year with Columbus.
Michael Neuwirth, maybe
he's a maybe.
Brian Elliott?
I was just Scott Elliott. Brian Elliott. Exactly. I think the Flyers need to make a big move because you don't want to waste any more of the core's prime.
Now, I know this is totally off topic when it comes to the Flyers and that whole situation, but the Leafs goaltender prospect, and we can't go have this on we can't not talk about this.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you've heard about it. Goaltender Ian Scott.
Yeah, he's really good.
This year with the Prince Albert Raiders, first off, his record is where does it say it on here? He is 21-1. His goals against average is 1.59 and a save percentage of 99.44.
And I'm the first person to say it on this podcast. I was not a fan of Ian Scott when he was drafted or his previous years being drafted. I wasn't either. Now, look at him. He could be... We talk about Joseph Woll being the quote-unquote, blue chip, a goalie of the future. Maybe this guy. So, I guess time will tell.
And people always say that Freddie Anderson, he's your goalie. You don't need another goalie. Look, he is 28, 29 years old. You got to make sure you have...
It's not like he's 24, 25 like Vasilevsky.
Exactly. He and Ian Scott's 19. Joseph Woll is what, 21, 20, something like that.
21, 20, yeah.
So that's all right for the Leafs' future. But I think we're gonna wrap it up with the hockey. I mean, there was a lot of things we wanted to discuss when it comes to that.
Yeah.
But we're gonna go right to the court and the Toronto Raptors.
They're playing well. They came back. What was it against Memphis? Like a 30-point.
So they were down 17, and they came back and won late.
Wow.
I mean, that game right there showed, I think, everybody that this team is for real.
In Memphis, personally, I'm even surprised that Memphis is as good as they are doing.
Yeah. I mean, they're getting help from some of their younger players. Jaren Jackson Jr. Got in a lot of foul trouble in that Raptor game. But other than that, because he didn't do a whole lot 4-2. But you look at his numbers on the year as a rookie. I mean, he's putting some pretty good numbers
together. Putting up 12 points.
As one of the big men. Right? And shooting 35%.
How old is he? He's like 22?
19 years old, 4th overall. I mean...
okay. Yeah, so he was a high draft.
Yeah, he was. And Mike Conley's obviously back, and they haven't really been...
The most overpaid person. Well, I don't know about now, but when that contract was signed, most overpaid... I should say overpaid.
He's averaging 20 a game, 6 and 6 assists, almost 3.5 rebounds. Yeah, he's not doing that bad.
So the Raptors probably have their biggest test of the season tonight.
Now, the crappy part about this is Draymond's not playing, and neither is Steph.
Yeah.
So really... us as Raptor fans and us as Toronto media, if you want to call us that, we all know what's going to happen if the Raptors win tonight. Oh, it's only because Steph and Draymond didn't play. If they did, they would have smashed the Raptors. You know we're going to hear that. And if they lose, it's going to be flipped. Kind of the fact of, oh, well, they didn't have Draymond or Steph, and they still beat the Raptors. The Raptors are terrible. They're not going anywhere. Yeah. You know we're going to hear it from one which way.
Whoa, no, for sure. But... I'm sorry, when you have Kevin Durant on your team, when you have Klay Thompson on your team, like, come on. And I'm just, again, this is kind of off topic, but same game. How much do you think these ticket prices go for?
Oh, man, probably a ton.
Nosebleeds, probably $200 for one.
Yeah, wouldn't surprise me. Maybe. Golden State's in town. Would not surprise me one bit.
I mean, the ticket price is already crazy enough. But going back to the game, I think so too. Obviously, Boogie Cousins is coming back. I'm pretty sure he's not coming back this game, but it looks like he is. And let's just see. He is targeting return after Christmas. So obviously we won't see him tomorrow,
and we won't even see him in the next meeting either in Golden State because we play them on the 12th. So
I mean that's a good thing. But, even fans would be, like you say, not even media, fans would be like, oh, well, the Raptors won, blah, 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 because we didn't have two of our best players. Well, I'm sorry.
Sorry you have 4 of them.
Sorry you won 4 championships in the last 5 years.
Honestly. Let us win one, huh?
Just one.
That's all we want.
Maybe 2.
Maybe 3 if we're having some good times.
Maybe 4.
Why not?
Maybe a dynasty.
Well, I think at 4 points. I think at 4 you already have a dynasty, but...
Yeah.
But, look, tonight, I would say it's a measuring stick game just for the fact of that team, no matter if they have Curry, no matter if they have Boogie Cousins, who they haven't had all year, or Draymond, it doesn't matter. That team is very good.
Yeah.
And look, Kevin Durant is arguably the best scorer of all time. Arguably. Because he is a ridiculously good player. We know he can shoot the ball from any which way on the court.
Yeah.
And with Klay, he's arguably the best 3-point shooter in the game.
All right, so... I'm not talking about Golden State because we all know how good they are. We all know. Serge Ibaka. I wanted to talk about him a little bit. Is he not... is this the old Serge Ibaka from the Thunders?
Yeah, it is.
He's looking great. He's looking great.
We talked about it last year.
He has a ton of blocks.
Yeah, and we talked about it last year, and we'll talk about it now. He is staying away from the 3-point shot. He's not taking as much threes. He's taking a lot of mid-range and in the paint type of stuff. He had a ridiculously good game last game. I was really happy with his performance in 16 points in 35 minutes, but he made a lot of big shots there late in the game. I was really impressed with Serge. He's averaging almost over 16 and a half points a game, and his rebounds, I mean, that's pretty high up there as well. What's he at? 7.7. He's averaging, what is he blocks? Almost 1.5 blocks a game. He's shooting over 50% from the field. That's great, a big one.
Yes, exactly. And that's great for the money that he's getting. And this is what we wanted.
Yep.
At the time, we were just thinking, oh, just trade him. It's like, guys, first of all, you can't trade that contract.
Look, I think.
Second of all, there's only up for Serge Ibaka.
Yeah, really.
He can only go up. I don't think he can go any more down than last year's playoffs.
Yeah, well, you know why? Because he kept shooting. Look, last year I felt like all the shots he was taking was from 3, and he couldn't make them, so it was just hurting him so much. This year, yeah, he's sprinkling in 2 or 3 threes a game, and if he makes one, great. But for the most part, he's taking a lot of mid-range. And
now, do you think that's him or the coach that's saying that to him? I think it's Nurse.
Could be a bit of both.
I think it's Nick Nurse saying, listen.
It could be a bit of both, because Serge Ibaka knows what he's good and not good at. But I think it does help Nick Nurse.
Because Nick Nurse saw last year's collapse in the playoffs.
Nick Nurse probably says to him, look, Serge, we get a lot of threes from the rest of the team. You know Lowry's going to take a lot. You know Kawhi Leonard's going to take more threes than DeMar DeRozan did. You know Fred VanVleet, DeLon Wright,
So why don't you just settle down and just
play your game?
Yeah, exactly.
That's all we ask.
Don't try to impress us. Impress us in the paint. Impress us blocking. Impress us with the offensive boards, defensive boards.
You know, I never thought I would say this, and if you guys go back to the podcast in the summertime, you all know our hatred and everybody's hatred towards Serge Ibaka. If you watched the live stream of the first game of the year, I was bashing Serge Ibaka. He's out 1 of 9. But since then, I feel like every mid-range shot that when I'm watching the game and I see him go up for a mid-range shot, I'm like, this is in, and it drops in there. I'm like, I feel so confident in him taking a shot now.
He has to be working on a shot, and look at him. He's playing great out there. He's playing again. He's not playing amazing, but he's playing like he should be playing as a veteran guy who has to perform with the contract he's given. Right?
Yep.
You have other people on this team who can shoot the threes. Like you said, Freddie VanVleet, CJ Miles, maybe
OG Anunoby too.
OG Anunoby, maybe Pascal can.
Yeah, he sprinkles some in here and there.
Sprinkled some, getting a little hot sauce in there.
Yeah, a little bit of spicy sauce there, Pascal.
But yeah, I mean the Raptors are 18-4.
Best record to start the year ever for the Raptors.
18-4.
Look, remember when this team through that little tiny stretch where they just were having tough times? They lost some emotional games, obviously losing to Boston in overtime, and then losing to Coach Casey after we had the big lead and we blew it. And yeah, those 2 games hurt.
They came right back.
And then remember, you lost to Milwaukee in Milwaukee, but remember, that was a game that they didn't have Giannis, and we didn't have Kawhi Leonard. So that was really a wash of a game. And we didn't play all that well, and that's just going to happen. But, look, you look at the way this team has performed over a consistent stretch, and if it's not one guy, it's other guys. Look, Kawhi Leonard only had 17 points last game, but Lowry dropped 24. Ibaka had 16. Freddie VanVleet is back and had 18 points off the bench in the last game. I mean, look, getting the depth scoring makes this team drive. It makes them flow. And Nick Nurse plays the hot hand. Freddie VanVleet was knocking down the shots in that game.
Keep him out there.
He was out there for the 4th and knocked down 3 big threes. I mean, and you actually saw some emotion from Fred VanVleet as well.
Yeah, I know exactly. I agree with everything you said. Now, staying on the topic, but kind of off it a little bit, if you will. Did you? We talked about Vince Carter last podcast, saying, "Oh, congratulations for 25,000 points."
Yep.
Do you know how he got that? I don't know if you actually watched the game.
Yeah, it was with points. It was like a second and a half left on a dunk.
But before he even dunked it, apparently he got 5 wide open shots and he missed them all or something.
Sounds about right. Like Vince Carter.
The Raptors just let him shoot it. Be like, buddy, just get your 25,000 points already.
And you see after he dunks it, Greg Monroe slaps him on the back like, "Attaboy, bud." It's fucking took you long enough.
Oh, pretty much. But it was just so funny because I actually watched the replay. I'm like, wait a minute, I didn't know it was that bad.
Yeah, I mean, look, but you know what? Congratulations, Vince Carter.
Again, but it was just funny how he basically the Raptors gave him ample opportunity because the Raptors already won that game.
All-time games played. He's 7th.
Oh, look who's first.
Look at him. Robert Parrish. Look at that. Wow.
Robert Parrish, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, John Stockton, Karl Malone, all the guys out there. Kevin Willis. 8th. Wow. Also,
congratulations, Vince. I mean, my goodness.
Yeah. No, exactly. So not a lot to talk about with the Raptors. They're playing good. You got to keep the ball rolling.
By the way, Kawhi Leonard has 3 straight double-doubles. So that's just something to keep an eye on.
Keep an eye on. We expect it from a great two-way player, but it's something.
Now, something we want to talk about. Everyone's still talking about DeMar DeRozan and how he's doing all that great stuff over there in San Antonio. The San Antonio Spurs are not playing very good basketball whatsoever this year. They are 10-11. They are 3-7 in their last 10. And let's go to I just want to show you something here. We talk about how Kawhi Leonard, and it feels like every single game he plays, he's a plus. Now, when you're winning a lot of games, that's obviously going to happen. And when you have a good team around you, that's what's going to happen. Now, let's go to the San Antonio game against the Timberwolves that happened last night. Was it last night? Yeah, the Timberwolves, who are having a ridiculously horrendous season. Look, I want to say clobbered them, but it was worse.
128-89. Mind you, both teams are pretty much the same. Both teams aren't the greatest, but they're not terrible. The Spurs currently, as of this podcast, are 10-11, and Minnesota's 11. and 11, right?
Yeah. But DeMar DeRozan had 10 points in that game in his 28 minutes of work. He was a minus 22. And honestly, I've been trying to keep an eye on DeMar DeRozan, and those minuses have been a consistent theme.
Yeah, and I mean with him, I think we talked about this last podcast too. We expected him to be, I don't know, as even to that next level, like he was on the Raptors, but we expected him to be, about the same. Maybe a bit lower because he's with a new team. Yeah. I don't think I was expecting this. He's still a good player, but look who he has to work with.
No, he doesn't. But you see we're talking about, remember when ESPN came out with their rankings and everything, and everyone was so mad at ESPN, I think I was too at some point, for DeMar DeRozan being listed so late because he was such a great scorer. Mm-hmm. I think now that he's in San Antonio and, like you said, doesn't have a lot of guys with him, look good players. They perform well, and he's averaging 24 a game. That's great. But great players find ways to win.
And drag their team into the postseason.
Look at the Raptors. No Kawhi Leonard against the LA Lakers and Utah Jazz. And this team finds a way to win. Kyle Lowry grinds them into those victories.
So basically, if he was this good, like, I don't know if Spurs fans are saying, maybe just the media, if they're saying that he's this good, then why are the Spurs not performing well?
Right.
We know Kawhi Leonard is a top 5 player in the league.
Well, big time.
Anthony Davis, perfect example. Look at last year. Dragged his team into the postseason. Won a round without Cousins because he's that good. I'm not comparing both players, but I'm saying if DeMar DeRozan was on that next level, he would be making an impact with this team by himself, and he's not doing that. Mind you, the players he has, and he is in the West, doesn't help, but still.
Yeah, I think it was he's in the top like 3 or 4 when it comes to field goal attempts per game.
Attempts.
Right. Means he's taking a ton of shots. He's taking one of the most amount of shots in the game per game. So it tells you right there that he's trying to be the entire offense for that team, and that's really all there is.
Who said it? That someone from the Spurs management. Was this Greg Popovich? I think he said something about Kawhi.
Yeah.
But I mean, hey, he isn't.
No, we're not asking Kawhi to be a vocal
Kyle
leader.
Lowry is this leader on this team. Kawhi's the best player, but Lowry is the leader.
Agreed.
So, what he's saying is true.
And I feel like Kawhi. Ideally, I didn't watch many Spurs games when Kawhi was there and everything.
No.
But
maybe just in the finals against the Heat.
Does it feel to me that Kawhi is not only talking more, but he seems more energetic and happy when he's playing? Because I've seen more emotion in him now than I've seen ever.
Okay, and I think that's for one or two reasons. One is because he wants to get a max deal at the end of the season. With the Raptors, without the Raptors, he wants to play his heart out. And from being injured pretty much all last season, he wants to play basketball. Right. So that's why he's showing the most amount of emotion in his career right now. Secondly, I think he has to with the Raptors. Again, not a huge market for basketball, but a mediocre one. Maybe about the same as the Spurs. I'm not too sure. But the cameras are going to be in his face. You know that, Nick Nurse isn't going to shelter him at all from the media. That's why he has to be a bit more open with the team, with the media, with the coaches, with everything. Greg Popovich kind of sheltered him and being like, oh, sorry, no questions for Kawhi Leonard, and he just kind of runs off. Buddy, you're the quote-unquote franchise guy for the Toronto Raptors.
You're a top 5 player in the league, and you can't do an interview. That's a problem.
Well...
Not that he can't, but like the way Popovich was handling that.
Well, he barely, yeah.
and you look at, like just from some of the moments that I've seen. Remember, Danny Green hit the buzzer beater against Orlando. When he took that shot, Kawhi Leonard's arms were up in the air, and he's like,
"Well, I hope they were."
He's like up like this, like, "Yeah, get in there!" And then it drops, and he's fired up, and you see him go high five Danny Green with a huge smile on his face and everything. I'm like, who is this guy?
Well, mind you, I don't think Kawhi Leonard wouldn't do that regardless.
No, I know.
I don't think he would just be like, Danny Green makes the shot of the game, and then Kawhi Leonard goes like this, whatever, another win.
Yeah, another win for the boys.
No, I think that he would do that regardless, but I think what you're talking about is he looks more vocal on the bench, he looks more vocal in interviews, he looks more vocal with his teammates, and I think that's because he wants to get a max deal at the end of the year.
Agreed. I think, and the funny thing is, the Raptors are the team that can give him that max deal.
Yeah.
If not, he loses $45 million or $40 million or whatever it is.
So, yeah, I completely agree with you. Let's talk about the 76ers once again. I don't know if this was the GM or the president said that Markelle Fultz is not. He's not in the plan for the future with this team.
The fact you come out and say that is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Whether he is a part of the future or he isn't,
say it.
you don't say it to the media, because then that tells the fan base that, okay, well, we just don't even want to worry about this guy. Maybe even boo him a little bit. Why not? Because it's Philly fans. You never know what the heck you're going to get from them.
Well, it's not him. It's just
the
GM.
No, I know, but Philly fans see that,
yeah, exactly.
and they're like, oh, he's not even a part of the future. Just boo him whenever he does anything, whatever. And then that gives him no incentive to even give an effort to this team.
Well, right now he's not even playing. I think he's in rehab for his jump shot, if I'm not mistaken. He's not playing.
He was hurt, wasn't he?
Well, he's hurt, but
sore shoulder, it says.
What do you shoot with? Yeah,
76ers GM says Fultz rumors are just noise. That was 16 hours ago.
He said this a little while ago that I read it. I saw it somewhere.
4 days ago.
Yeah.
That was a report. I don't know if there was any quote or anything on
Well,
there.
it's not. It's pretty much self-explanatory. Right? Yeah. Like, it's pretty much, why do they need this guy when they have Jimmy Butler, JJ Redick?
Yeah,
right?
It's true. Look, they're playing.
And he's not performing when he was healthy and when he was getting starting minutes. A jump shot is not easy to fix, folks.
No. It's something that if you don't have coming into the game,
if you don't have coming into the draft, you drop.
Look at Ben Simmons. I'm sorry. Other than driving to the basket and being able to dish the ball out, what does he got? He doesn't have a three. He doesn't have a jump shot. I mean,
not a huge loss for the 76ers because they did get, obviously, Jimmy Butler. It looks like he wants to stay there long term.
Yeah, that's
good
fine
for him. So this is the wash of a first overall pick. I don't know if he'll be a bust or turn it around.
Who was the second overall pick that year?
That was Ball. That was Ball.
Interesting.
I don't know who you would take because Ball hasn't really performed that well.
No, he hasn't. And he's actually hurt right now.
But he's serviceable. And he's only going to get better.
Okay, Lonzo Ball is not having a good year. He's only averaging 8
assists.
He's only averaged 4.5 assists a game.
Still young.
8.2. Yeah, but he's down from last year. He's only shooting 40%. His free throw percentage is 57%. Yeah,
it's not great. But you know what? He's playing with the best player in the world, so maybe he can teach.
Clearly, it hasn't worked so far.
Not yet. It's only a couple games in. Not yet.
Yeah, but usually we see right out of the gate, LeBron James changes everything.
Right. I want you to look up right now. Who was the second overall pick for the 2018 draft? I know first was that guy from the Suns, Anton, or whatever his name is.
DeAndre Ayton?
Yeah. Who was the second? Because I know Doncic was third.
2018.
NBA draft.
NBA draft.
Let's just see. Just go on Wikipedia, whatever. Because that's an interesting one. Just keep scrolling.
All right, yeah, I got it. Just trying to find this here. Okay, so it was Marvin Bagley III on the Sacramento Kings.
How's he doing?
Look, when we played Sacramento down in Sacramento, I loved the looks of that kid. He's a lefty. Oh. And I don't know. I really liked the looks of him. I mean, again, the Sacramento Kings, where are they right now? So they're 10-10. They've kind of fallen out a little bit. They've lost a couple of games in a row. But you look at Marvin Bagley, and I look at guys like Buddy Hield, who's really put a year together, averaging 18.8 points a game, shooting 48%, 45% from three.
Yeah.
I mean, then De'Aaron Fox has put a great year together, averaging 17.5 points.
Sacramento finally get it together?
Well, I mean, if you can put those two together, and then you throw in Bagley, who's
they got Ben McLemore
their
back.
Power forward. He's averaging almost 13 a game. He's shooting 50%. He's averaging almost 7 rebounds a game.
Actually, they got pretty good centers and all that.
Yeah, Willie Cauley-Stein, whatever his name is, averaging 14.5 points a game, 8 rebounds. I mean, look.
Again, hopefully the Sacramento Kings can finally do something after terrible years, and not having a fan base.
They've got a good-looking young team.
Is that Zach Randall?
Yeah, he's playing there. And then you have Dallas, who is 10-9, and they've won 3 in a row. They're 8-2 in their last. And those two teams of Dallas and Sacramento, I love the looks of those teams moving forward.
Agreed.
The last thing, a couple last things I want to talk about here. Number one is the Boston Celtics. They continue to struggle. They won their last game, but they barely won it. And
they're barely in a playoff spot. They're in the 7th spot.
7th seed. I mean, they're tied with the Charlotte Hornets, for God's sakes.
Wow, the Orlando Magic.
They're 4-6 in their last 10. Look, the problem with the Celtics last year, their defense was so good, but their offense was meh, but they were finding ways to win.
Yeah.
This year, their offense still isn't the greatest when it comes to, look, put into perspective, the Detroit Pistons, the Wizards, averaging 113 points a game almost. The Boston Celtics are only averaging 107, and they're giving up 104 a game. Look, the defense is still there. They're not scoring enough.
No, they're not.
And last thing, the Houston Rockets are 9-11 and second last in the Western Conference.
They could be going after Zane Williamson.
Ideally, they're a game and a half out of a playoff spot. That tells you how close it is there in the bottom half of the Western Conference.
Well, look at that. The 10-9 Dallas Mavericks are in.
Right, so they're only a game and a half behind those 8 seed Mavericks.
So it's tight.
But they're 9-11. They really have not played. They've lost 4 straight.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Again, we saw this before. The Houston Rockets are a good team. Not right now, but I think that they will make the playoffs. Now, moving on to the Jays, and I don't know if you have anything for the segment. If you want to talk about any potential moves, any potential trades the Jays can, because free agency, and also a big thing that happened, kind of Jays related, Josh Donaldson signing a 1-year deal with the Atlanta Braves.
And crazy thing about that is Alex Anthopoulos, the GM of the Atlanta Braves. So, and we did hear actually that Russell Martin, the Jays are exploring a trade market when it comes to him. He's entering the final year of his contract.
Who's the rookie catcher again?
Danny Jansen and Reese McGuire. We saw both those catchers this past year, as well as Luke Mailey. So I think they're trying to move Russell Martin in the sense of...
And he's 34, 35.
I actually think he's older than that. Maybe he's 34. I'm not too sure. I'm going to go look.
He had a down year last year, but what Blue Jay didn't. And you could look at
35.
Something for him. Well, I wouldn't say something for him. His contract's up. Why don't you just let him walk?
No, after this year.
Oh, after this year.
So another season left. And you look at these catchers. Danny Jansen's your catcher of the future, really.
Oh, look at the shades.
Yeah, damn right. And he's only 23 years old. Reese McGuire, same thing, only 23 years of age. Both players came up and they showed flashes of really good things. Luke Mailey showed us all last year to be a pretty darn good catcher. Hit almost 250 in 68 games.
Mailman.
Exactly. And he was fantastic. And he's only, 28? 27 years old.
What could you expect to get back for someone like that who hit 20 home runs in his past years?
Like Russell, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, since he's in the last year of his contract, and since he's a catcher who has not been playing well over the last couple seasons,
maybe like a trade deadline trade. I don't think that you trade him at the beginning of the season.
I think you do. I think. Look, I truly believe that this team, this Blue Jays team, is really going to let their young guys go this year. I really do. Look, with the trade of Aledmys Diaz, that opens up an infield spot. Do you think maybe Bo Bichette's going to try and climb into that spot at some point in time? I don't know.
Talked about that.
Know. Yeah. But I mean,
it doesn't look like he's ready at this point.
Well, I mean, he had a really good end of the year last year, a really good playoffs. Yeah. And look, if he has a very good spring, I don't know. I look, the amount of infield depth this team has is ridiculous. They still do, even with the Aledmys Diaz trade. But with Russell Martin, I think if you can find a way to get one low-level prospect, maybe a mid-level prospect, and maybe 2 low-level prospects, then fine. But look, Russell is not in this team's plans in the future. I don't even know if he's there. He barely played at all in September this past year. Tells you right there that their plans for him are not really a whole lot.
Personally, I think that he starts the season with the Jays because you just can't let the reins go right away to the young guys. If you see him struggle, or you see, like you said, Jansen or any of the young catchers, okay, maybe we can give him a shot.
Well, I mean, ideally that's what September was for, and they honestly, I'm not really sure what they're going to do with Russell Martin.
No, me neither. But it isn't a big deal, really.
No. I think they're going to try and move him, but. And let's go to the infield real quick because there's still so many questions regarding that. Now, ideally, still the beginning. It's they have the ridiculous amount of infield depth, and I feel like they're gonna have to move some. So the fact is, you've got a lot of these guys you're reading here with me. I like, Brandon Drury. Look, he got traded to the Blue Jays with an injured hand, so. Those numbers, I don't really go off of those. I go off of his career numbers where he hit 260 and crushed 25 home runs.
Okay, you could see him be moved out of anybody else.
Maybe. He could be a guy to go. He's only 26. He's not a very old guy. And obviously Lourdes Gurriel Jr. is a big piece of this team.
Definitely not Rowdy Tellez.
No, obviously not. Solarte, I want the hell out of here as fast as we can. I think everybody wants that.
Okay, so Solarte, maybe Brandon Drury, but definitely Solarte.
What about Justin Smoke?
That's a name. He's 33 years old.
Or the big thing is, right? The big question could be, is that do you try and move Kendrys Morales?
I don't think
after a big season. He had a pretty good year last year. I got to give that to him.
For the money he's making, I don't care how good he.
He's not making as much money as everybody thinks he is.
How much is he making?
$11 million. which to put into perspective,
I don't know what that is in baseball
Josh
terms.
Donaldson in a 1-year deal at 30 whatever years old he is, he had $23 million. This guy's making 11.
They saw in his past.
It's 1-year deal left. One more.
If any team wants to take
because
it,
if you do make that move and you trade Kendrys Morales, you let Rowdy Tellez and Justin Smoke flip at DH and first base. That's what I want to happen.
Because I don't want Justin Smoke to be off this team. I love Justin Smoke. I think that he could be a part of this rebuild, and I don't think you should unload on him. I get this is probably the prime. I don't know if he's going to perform like he did last year or the year prior. 30 home runs. I don't know if that's doable again. But like you said, maybe you bring him down to DH.
Well, with him, I want him to show Rowdy the first base ways. Show him how to be a great first baseman defensively. Rowdy, we saw in the first little bit that he played with the Jays, this kid can hit. We saw that. Now, that's great, but the defense is a giant part to this game. Why was this team so good in 2015-16? Their defense was stellar. You had Ben Revere you picked up in the left field, which had always been an issue. You had Troy Tulowitzki, who at the time, and still
Kevin
ideally
Pillar?
is. Kevin Pillar, obviously a great outfielder. Jose, when he was younger, obviously in those days, he was a great defensive player. Russell Martin in his prime had a hose of an arm. Yeah. So defensively, that team was so good. That's a big reason of why they went to the playoffs. And this team now, last year, they just weren't all that great defense. They weren't terrible, but they weren't all that great.
They weren't great. Yeah, no.
So having Smoke teach that kid teach Rowdy Tellez the ways of first base and not the proper ways to scoop, but like some quirks that he used to learn because they're both lefties. I think he is. I think Rowdy Tellez is a lefty first baseman. I know he's a lefty bat, but I'm not sure if he's a lefty first.
Usually, if you're a lefty bat,
he is. Oh. So they're both lefty first basemen.
So you would want Rowdy Tellez to learn from Justin Smoke.
I would love it. So that if that's the case, you would have to try and move Kendrys Morales.
Well, can't you just get him off DH Morales and put
where would you put him? He only plays DH and first base, and then you have 3 of them, right?
Yeah.
So then there's an issue there.
Is there really a difference between first, second, and third base? Like I know, can you put him at second, Morales?
No, you got to be able to move. You got to be able to run up the middle and to the sides. With first base, you just stand there and catch a ball.
I'm just thinking that
no. God no.
No.
Do you ever see a guy as a big lug play second base or third base or shortstop? No. You see the most athletic guys play.
Well, yeah, a shortstop I can see because you're in between the bases.
Well, same with second base. And third base is the hot corner. You don't see anybody that's...
Or maybe you could just put him pitcher. Because when he did pitch that game...
Okay, yeah, I don't know. I mean, he wasn't bad, but let's just not...
So why don't you throw him in the bullpen?
Honestly, next year wouldn't surprise me. I mean, so that's the case for the infield, and then you have a guy like Devin Travis, who I don't really know what we're going to see this year. Richard Urania put a great second half last year.
Could you send him down? For example, Travis, if you can't find a solution,
I think you
Morales
try and trade him. I think you try and trade Devin Travis if it doesn't work a little bit this year because of the fact that he's still fairly young, so he still has some value to him, and this team's infield depth, like we've always said, is through the damn roof.
So you can afford, and plus with all these prospects coming up, you can afford to get rid of roster players.
Yep, that's what they did with Diaz.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Do you want to keep going about the Jays or?
Yeah, let's keep going here. Yeah. I mean, might as well. We don't really talk about them a whole lot right now. Sure. So, the outfield is still obviously a big question mark. Obviously, we know Kevin Pillar's right in the middle, and we get that. Left and right. Grichuk put a great year last year.
Slow start.
He's very slow start, but he was red hot for the second half of the year. And then after that, I'm not sure. Teoscar Hernandez. Look, he has a few things that is good, but there's a lot of bad. He's got power, which you can't teach, but it's I mean, look, in this league, it's if you can't crush 40 home runs, then you're not really going to be in the league. If you can't do anything else, if you strike out 1,000,000 times and you don't hit 40 home runs,
then what are you doing?
Exactly. He's got a great arm.
Yeah.
That's great, but his brain defensively, I'm not so sure about. Can he get better at it? Maybe.
So you would like to see an infielder being traded for an outfielder?
I wouldn't be opposed to that. That or pitching.
Okay, that or pitching. Starting or bullpen?
Anything.
Because we won't see Marco Estrada coming back at all.
No, he'll be gone. So you're losing Marco Estrada. Who else do the Jays have? That actually not a whole lot, to be honest. But bullpen, there's obviously some younger players that I really want to get a looks of this year. Actually, they have some on the list right here, actually, that are quite interesting. And spring training is going to be quite interesting because of all the young players this team has. Some of the guys you don't see the pictures of. Yennsy Diaz is one here, and he was in A-ball 21 and he lit it up. And I'm like, interesting. As a pitcher, 21 years old, and he's lighting it up.
So
keep an eye.
And then he got brought up to
I think he
Buffalo?
stayed. I think he stayed in Dunedin. So I think he won't make the team at a camp, but I think he'll start in Double-A this year.
Okay.
And we'll see what happens from there. Julian Merriweather.
Yeah.
Obviously, Josh Donaldson, 1-for-1 to Cleveland. That was the big trade there.
Mind you, Merriweather is not looked at as a star.
No, he's coming off of Tommy John, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens with him.
If he even gets back to what he was, or if he was anything.
Patrick Murphy, he was a guy in A-ball that put really good numbers up there. He's only 23 years old. Who knows? Hector Perez, main piece in the Roberto Osuna trade. So that's a guy you want to look at moving forward as well. And Trent Thornton obviously was the Aledmus Diaz swap.
Right.
So, look, there's a lot of looking young players coming up that you want to see, but we got to be patient.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Baseball is a sport of patience.
Exactly. And I think if everybody's healthy, we are going to look like a worse team than last year, I think, but we're going to be more entertaining.
It's going to
And for this year coming, Jays fans, you have to look at the big picture and be like, there has to be pain before promise. And
look at the
pain...
Leafs.
Exactly.
Really?
And we have the prospects in the farm system. We just have to wait for them to basically get to where they're projected to be.
Yep.
So, with that being said, I kind of want to talk about around the league here. And the Oakland A's unveil plans to build a 34,000-seat stadium near downtown Oakland. So, I mean,
they're out of the
no more the Coliseum. Finally, in the past, 50 years they were there.
Good for them. They're out of there, thank God.
Good for them. And
the Raiders don't have to play on a baseball field anymore. We're watching the football game, and I think it was Marshawn Lynch. Oh, he's running into the outfield, and it's gone. Like
they don't because the bases are still there. Well, not the actual bases, but the outfield.
The line's still there. All the dirt infield's still
there.
there.
You didn't believe me when I told you that.
I couldn't believe that because I'm like, how can the NFL let that happen? And they did.
Marshawn Lynch running to first, running to second.
Oh, now he's in the outfield. Get going! Like, I don't understand. I didn't understand it.
So this means
good for them. Good for
them. Now that means this is obviously going to be a smaller ballpark because
Oakland had a really big fan base, so it's because they're a team.
I'm just thinking of home runs for players. Would that be easier?
Well, we don't know what the dimensions are going to be, so that'll be actually a really.
Well, it's a smaller because right now I think it's close to 50,000.
Well, it's a football stadium, so yeah, it's
isn't it a baseball stadium? It was made for baseball, wasn't it?
I don't know.
I think it was made because
if it was made for baseball, then my God, they don't sell.
No, because the A's were around since the 20s. I think they were there before the Raiders.
I don't know. Anyways, nonetheless, it's a giant stadium and doesn't fill. So
yeah, because they have to have those banners up in the the 300s or the 400s.
600s. I don't even know at this point.
Me neither. Is there anything else you want to talk about, or you just want to go straight to fantasy? Or...
I think we can go to fantasy here. I think in the next podcast we'll touch on free agency for the Jays and maybe who they should go after and kind of stuff like
Sounds
that.
Good.
But let's go to the podcast questions now.
Or fantasy.
What are we going to talk about fantasy?
We just mentioned, or do you want to go? It's up to you. Podcast questions.
Let's go right to the podcast. Really.
Okay.
So Just Camille says Kawhi New Balance. Yeah, it's pretty cool. He signs the new contract with
New Balance. Who needs Adidas? Who needs Nike? Who needs Jordan?
Well, but you look at I saw something on I think it was Twitter or something that New Balance is really coming into their own range. They're actually doing much I think
really.
Yeah, they went from making a 1.5 billion a year to 4.5.
So basically, what you're saying is they're done making shoes for 50-year-olds.
Yep, exactly.
That mow lawns in them. And
yes, exactly.
And they're now making shoes for top 5 players in the league for NBA basketball.
Well, we're gonna have to wait and see. I mean,
if Kawhi can rock a New Balance, but they have to be white.
They do. Yeah, they do.
With Velcro.
Now, I remember those back in the day, though. We're looking out my back window and see my dad mowing the lawn. He's got the New Balance on.
He's got New Balance,
there.
Barbecue and all that.
Yeah.
AJ, what do you want?
And he's like, I just got to do my Velcro up real quick. I mean, it's funny. But,
so
look, they must
if Kawhi can rock
they must
them,
be in a better situation.
Yeah. No, they have to be. And maybe they're targeting more sports than middle-aged people to older people. I don't know.
Middle-aged men mowing lawns. That's all it is.
So
right?
Jordan, Adidas, Nike,
watch out.
Watch out for New Balance, man.
Get in or get out. All right, next question. Chatterbox Reviews. Once the Warriors get Cousins back, Raptors are screwed, right?
We won't be facing them when they get back. Well, I mean, playoffs.
Will chemistry be a factor?
Look at Gordon Hayward.
Look at Kyrie Irving even. All those guys together.
Well, I'm saying Gordon Hayward because he was injured. So was
Kyrie, though, for quite a bit of that year. He only played half the season.
Okay, true. But mind you, if a superstar is injured and has not really played a lot with the team, when he comes back, you don't know. We all know Boogie Cousins and how he gets fired up for no reason.
Look, Chatterbox reviews, bud. I mean, look, this team, this Golden State Warriors team with Boogie, with Curry, with Clay, Draymond, Durant, we all know what they're expected to do. We all know it.
But without even Cousins, we all know what
now
they're expected to do.
He's saying once Cousins get back, are we screwed?
I don't know.
Honestly, man, look.
Chemistry, man.
We can't worry about that right now. We got to focus on this Raptor team and this Raptor team only. And if we end up facing the Warriors in the finals, great.
But that's a long ways away.
It's a long ways away, guys. Yeah. Roderick, man, what's going on? What are your thoughts on the Andrew Nielsen trade? Good or bad trade?
So Andrew Nielsen for
Morgan Klimchuk?
Morgan Klimchuk, former first rounder Morgan Klimchuk, by the way. For Andrew Nielsen, listen, Andrew Nielsen as a defenseman, he was okay. I didn't hate him, but he took a lot of penalties.
I think last year he had 140-something on penalty minutes, and yet he was still scratched for some games.
Left-handed D, which we have an abundance of those. For a guy who can score in the AHL.
That Marlies team needs some help a little bit. They're
for goal scoring? Because Sam Gagne got recalled from, was it Carolina?
Yeah.
Or no,
yeah. He's not on the team anymore, so.
Yeah.
So, but do I think it's a good or bad trade? I mean,
I think it's an equal trade for both teams. I mean, we basically got rid of a youngish defenseman who takes a lot of penalties, but has promise. And mind you, he wasn't even playing for the Marlies at all.
No,
for a guy who's a pretty good AHL scorer, not really in the NHL, I think it evens itself out, really.
Michael, man, $23 million for 1 year for a guy who's injured for most of the season and it's just bad overall. Do you guys feel like it's a waste of money for the Braves to sign Josh?
This is okay. So highlight this. This is the big part. 1 year deal. It's a 1 year deal. It's a flyer. It's not gonna
kill you.
It's a flyer.
If he doesn't do well and he falls apart and that's all she wrote, then what's the problem?
Then either
he walks to the end of the season and probably retires and that's all she wrote.
I could say if it was like a 3 year deal, okay, what are you doing, bud?
Yeah, well, 3 year deal would be a ridiculous deal, but 1 year. Look, yeah, he's been hurt over the past. But that was in Toronto. Look at James Van Riemsdyk.
And for him, he wants to get a big payday. Mind you, I don't know how many years he has left, but this is a prove it kind of contract. All right, we'll give you a 1 year deal
when he is healthy,
and he's playing on a good team.
And Michael here says, and his bad just overall. I'm not sure why would I'm like. Josh Donaldson.
Well, mind you, there are different opinions, but bad overall as in, yeah, he wasn't good for last season. But as an overall player, he's past his prime, we know this. But as a player, he may still have something left.
He's still a great defender. We saw that even in the playoffs last year. So, he's still a great defender. When he gets consistent at bats over a consistent 162-game season, he'll probably hit them 30-plus home runs no matter what. Because he's only, 33 years old. It's not like he's 38 and ready to retire.
Well, mind you, if he doesn't prove this contract, I do believe he's done this as his last shot.
I do agree with that. If he can't stay healthy this year with the Braves, I think this is it for him. And
plus, it's not like he's playing on a bottom feeder team. He's playing on the Braves.
And he's going to play over in the National League, which arguably is easier to play in. So...
Well. Arguably. But I think that wraps it up for episode 37 of the TO Sports Talk podcast. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for on the Apple podcast app, if you guys were listening to on that, on your favorite podcatcher, on YouTube, wherever you guys are listening. Thank you very much. And you say you don't know when the next podcast is.
No, we'll figure it out.
Maybe Saturday.
Maybe we'll figure it out. But I will talk to you guys later tonight as the Raps take on the Golden State Warriors at home. No matter who the heck's in the lineup for the Warriors, it's still Raptors versus Warriors, and I don't care, and I want to see the Raptor team kick the rear end and win 7 straight.
7 straight games.
They've won 6. They look for 7 tonight against the Warriors. Thank you guys so much, and Evan and I will talk to you guys sometime next week, possibly Saturday night.
Maybe hopefully tomorrow a video about a certain someone signing.
Or even December 1st.
Maybe December 1st before 5 p.m.
Well, we're going to have to wait and see, guys, but thank you guys so much. And Evan and I will talk to you guys sometime next week, episode 38 of the TO Sports Talk podcast. Thank you guys so much, and we'll talk to you guys then.
Peace!